All right. What's going on, party people? This your man Griff. Woo, heading on back home. Had an 8 a.m. HELOC to do. Finish that in about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. Straight to the point. Took me a while to get out here because the GPS on my phone, because it's been raining so much and all cloudy and stuff, made it very difficult for the thing to work. So I had to manually look through had to manually sit there and follow the streets on the daggone map on my phone and stuff. But I got here to the people's house about 2 minutes late and everything. Over the last couple of months, a lot of people have been asking me sort of the same question about equipment, and it's odd. I mean, it's just the way people ask the question is just sort of interesting to me, because everybody's saying it the same way, like, what's the best ... And I've shared this before on my channel that I really don't try to get into like this printer is better than that printer, because in order for me to do that, and in my opinion for anybody to do that, they would have had to use all the various printers. I have not done that, even with the scanners. When I came in this business, the only thing I knew was that people was talking about the Brother printer. So that's what I went with. And at that time, what the first model that I came across was the 5200 model. I was like, oh, okay, nice 5200 model. Then they had the 6200 model. So when I did a comparison of the 52 and the 52 to the 62, I found that the 5200 actually, the 6200 actually had a larger paper capacity. So I was like, okay, more paper, less time I got to keep, changing it out and things of that nature. And the 6200 had a larger ink capacity than the 5200, because I was already looking at going full time doing this, and I said I need something that can last me a good little while. The point that I'm making here is that when you go to selecting items, you need to look at the specs. And I know a lot of folk don't get into that and don't like doing that. So you just want to hear somebody tell you what to use. That can be very dangerous, because if you don't understand the specs, you don't understand why the person really got it, you could end up actually overspending or underspending for what you need. I think this is the right way. I hope this is the right way. You could end up overspending or underspending, because if you're not trying to do the business full time, then you'll end up overspending on something because it's somebody's recommendation. If you end up doing it, if you're doing it full time or trying to go full time, and you ask somebody and they tell you their recommendation based, like, yeah, just get this, because they're doing it part-time, then it could go to the opposite. The bottom line is, you got to first figure out what you're trying to do in this business, how deep you're going to get into it, and understand the volume and say, okay, well, here's what I need. This is how much, this is how much work I'm looking to do. And then get you a printer and a scanner that can support that. Like they say, if you getting married, you may want to buy a car, get rid of your sports car and buy something that can handle a family. So when you do have a family, you already have the necessary vehicle. So that means you got to sit down and do some projections and look at things and decide, okay, which way am I going in my life, in my business? And that's all I did. So at that time, I went with the Brother. Is it the best? I cannot say. It does what I needed to do. I decided, here's what I need to be done. This is what I feel that I need to have done for me. And it met the requirements that I decided I needed met. Now, I could have been wrong, could have been right, for myself, but this is what I did. And it's also about what you can afford. Can you afford the item that you're trying to buy? So if somebody recommends something, can you actually afford it? And that was the kicker. Now, at that time, I could afford the brother print. It was not that expensive. I forget, maybe 200 and some bucks, 250, something like that, way before the pandemic. And the biggest mistake that I made was listening to people's recommendation of don't get a double tray printer. You don't need 2 trays. My gut told me yes, but everybody was saying don't. And I listened to them suckers, and it messed me up. It really did, because I'm sitting here trying to print stuff and using that manual feed at the front. The paper was getting jammed and this, and I was like, okay, this don't make a bit of sense. I need to get a second tray. And then, of course, somebody was talking about that page separator. When I looked at the logistics of using the page separator, it didn't make sense. I'll be honest with you, it just flat out didn't make sense to me, because it's like, if I'm busy, if I'm doing 3, 4, maybe even 6 closings in a day with letter and legal, and then I got to use this device to separate the letter from the legal, print it, separate it, and then put it back in order, that's a time waster. That's not efficient, okay? That's not efficient for any business owner who's really trying to grow their business and scale it. So I was like, let me go get a second tray instead of spending $60 or whatever it was at the time on a page separator, which is going to require me to do more work. I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I bought the second tray, and it's been beautiful ever since. I'm much more efficient. I'm not wasting time sitting here reorganizing documents, all of that kind of stuff. And for people who are not really organized and not good with paperwork, you're going to wear yourself out, and you're going to frustrate yourself to no end. Okay. So to me, the ideal thing is what's going to help you, the piece of equipment is what's going to help you be efficient. How do you plan on being in this business? And that's a decision that you have to make. And to be honest, I believe that many of you can make that. I mean, if you just sit back, stop being scared, stop being nervous, stop worrying that, oh, if I buy this, it's going to be the wrong. Okay, so what makes it wrong? What will make it right? And what you're going to have to do is determine what level of effort you plan on putting into this business for the next 2 to 5 years. If you plan on being in this business for 5 years, then you need to have equipment that can roll with you for at least half that time before you have to buy another piece of equipment that can last the rest of the way. Scanners, the scanning thing, a lot of people been asking me over the last couple of months, you know, it's like, how do you scan? I'm like, you stick the, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this. I mean, you stick the paper in the machine, you scan it, you change the settings to scan as a PDF at about 200 DPI, dots per inch. It doesn't have to be high quality, and it does a black and white scan. And then you just make sure that it scans single-sided. That's it. You stick it in there, it scans, it should send it to your computer as a PDF. If you installed everything on there correctly, if you install the proper drivers that comes with the CD from them, or you download the drivers for that equipment, don't use the generic drivers that is a part of the Windows system. And I think I got videos out there under my printing playlist talking about that, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're going to have to do some work to get it all together, because people can just tell you, oh, buy this and buy that, and just like people just telling you, take this course, take that, and you find out that it ain't really there. Any scanner that scans as fast as you can afford to buy, the faster the better. That's the way I look at it. The faster the better. Because if you're trying, jumping all in front of people like that. goodness, ignorant people. Sorry about that, y'all. Person just had to just jump all in front of you. These young kids nowadays, sorry about that, y'all. That's why I don't have my signs on the side of my car, because these people be out here road raging and stuff, and I ain't got time for nobody rolling up on me. But you got to look at your how you plan on doing this business, okay? You really, really do. You got to look at how you plan on doing this business and just make a decision. Don't just solely go off of like, well, just tell me what you use and I use that. That's the easy way out. That's, in my opinion, the lazy way. You got to sit down and analyze what you plan on doing. And if you don't fully understand the business, then that's what you got to do. You got to get a better understanding of this business so you can make the necessary decisions on what you're going to buy and what you're going to invest in the business. Just going around saying, tell me what you do, tell me what equipment you use, and then you just go buy it, and then you don't know how to use it. You realize that it was way out, it was just too much. Like some people use HP printers. Printers. Okay, cool. But then there's people who use, what is it called, Ricoh. Okay, cool. Ricoh's a little bit more expensive. I think it lasts a little bit longer. That's what people have told me, but I don't know. So the bottom line is, you got to just sit down and analyze how deep you plan on getting into this business and get the necessary equipment for that. A lot of people will ask the question about leasing a printer. That is something that you're going to have to do the math on and decide whether or not that would be financially feasible for you. Looking at the cost of buying a printer and then the toner and the drum and all of that stuff, versus you paying somebody $100 a month or whatever to rent a printer. And if you're renting a printer and all of that stuff, then I guess you plan on doing a lot of volume, high volume in that. But then you can't sit there and be like, I'm gonna rent this printer at $200 a month to handle high volume, but you won't go out and take any orders because they're not paying you a certain dollar amount. So that means that at some point in time, you're gonna be paying out of pocket for that printer. You're gonna be paying some serious money for that printer, and you're not taking any orders because you're trying to get only the orders that are of a certain dollar amount. That might not be financially feasible. So that's why I don't really recommend. The only thing I ever recommended was the Brother DS scanner, this little small scanner that's portable. And that worked. But then, to be honest, now that I'm really full time in this business, I got time to go back home and scan, and I've been getting the documents ahead of time and all of that. So I have not had a need for any of that portable equipment. I haven't had to be mobile with anything. The only thing that I actually will carry with me is my scanner, and I still have more time to go back home and do my scan. So I don't really need to be with the mobile equipment. And then lastly, many people have asked me what's the best mobile printer or what mobile printer. If you go on Amazon and search mobile printer, you will see a bunch of printers that will not accommodate your needs, meaning they all are just single tray for letter size paper. There's nothing double tray. Or if the single tray can be expanded, now you back into I gotta print stuff and then repackage it and all of that. So I'm just using my standard printer, Brother printer, and I've used it while I was out, and I got it all set up that way. So I don't know what to say. I never went around asking people what's the best, whatever. I just knew that I needed something that could last me at least 2.5 to 3 years. For the first 2.5 to 3 years of this business, that I didn't have to have a lot of maintenance on, and that was efficient, and that had a high paper capacity and a high page count on the toner. And that's what I went with, and Brother ended up being that for me. you got to sit down and do the numbers and math, and then make sure you can afford it. And a lot of people, you know, buying a used printer could be a downside because there's parts in there that have to be replaced. And when those parts finally wear out, like the laser and the fuser and all of that, it costs more to replace those than buying a new printer. So that's why I tend to buy a brand new instead of getting used, because of the fact that I don't want to get a printer that has 20% life left in the fuser or the laser, and then I mean I'm gonna have to buy another printer soon. And yeah, it might have been $50, but it's a waste. Now I got to go buy another one. So that's why I just buy new. That's the reason why I buy new. And if I do get a used one from somebody, which I'm probably never going to do, I will look at the life that's left on the individual parts in there, and you can print a stat sheet out on the printer, and it'll tell you how much life is left in the laser and the fuser and the KF light or the kit, whatever, and all of that stuff. So I know this is a boring video, y'all. I know it's too technical, but I'm just sharing with y'all. This is what, you know, people want to know. This is what I go through. This is how I decide. And most people aren't going to do this, so that's why I don't really get into trying to tell people, here's what's the best thing you can do for equipment. You really got to do your own research with regards to that. You really got to sit down and analyze what you're going to do in this business and make a decision as to whether or not you feel that it's worth paying the money for ... And once you do that, then live with it, keep it rolling, and you should be fine. And then go out there and work and make the money that you need to make so that you can buy your next printer when the current one goes down. That is really it, y'all. So I don't know what else to say or how else to answer the question, but I mean, I know people still going to ask, what's the best whatever? It's whatever you can afford that does the job for you, that works best for you in your situation. Outside of that, I don't know what to say, and I'm not going to tell you that this printer is better than that printer. I told you my reasons why I got the brother and why I still use it, and those reasons are still valid for me to this day. It's that simple. All right, talk to y'all later. Peace.